Welcome, everyone. We are live this beautiful morning. Yes, it is a beautiful morning with lovely bird song. Remember to check yourself. I'm talking about this again because last night, as I was editing some of my videos, to make shorts and stuff, there was this one line in the Neville Goddard lecture that says, "You see that attitude that you have that makes you feel something? Right there, right then, that's what you've planted." So remember to check the attitude. Now, some people find it challenging to constantly rein themselves in or check themselves. But here's something that can make it simpler for you. If you select your attitude that you want to have, this is how you can create your own individual algorithm for your mind. Select your attitude that you want to be in. And you tell yourself, this is the attitude. And this is where, if you catch me slipping, bring me back. This is the one I want. The reason you're doing that is it's easier, It's easier to tell yourself or to give yourself a directive, and it will be followed. Right? It is easier to tell yourself or give yourself a directive. Do this. And you will find that you'll do it. So, if you choose your attitude that you want to walk in throughout the day, and you set it, and you say, okay, this is the attitude, and you show your body what the attitude is because it'll feel a particular way to you, right? That's how your body will know what you want. And when you say, okay, look, I choose my attitude and it is this. Anything that's not this, we don't go there. Bring us here. Bring us back to where you want us to be. That's the simpler way of doing things. That way, you don't feel like you're fighting. You understand? It's just like if you said, oh my God, what's the name of that song? As soon as you ask yourself what the name of that song is that you've forgotten, do you realize something? You can literally feel the Rolodex of your mind. You can feel it spinning, but you just go about your day. Just do what you're doing. And the name of that song, how I always do it is, I'm like, what's the name of that song? And I said, you better tell me now. Don't tell me at 3 o'clock in the morning because that will not do. You tell me now. And usually, sometimes it'll be in that 5-10 minute window. It could be 20 minutes. It could be an hour. But I get that title of the song. So you see, you are already telling yourself or giving yourself a directive. Do this. And just allow it to do its thing. It is a faithful servant, you understand? So don't fret about, oh no, do I have to catch that attitude? No. Select it. Remember, your attitude is also another name for your mental state, your mental mood. And if you pay attention, the mental mood, mental habit, mental attitude, all the same thing. There's one that you are usually in 98% of the time. You always go back to it. When the thing comes to a slow motion and it goes to where it's most familiar, then that's what you do to help yourself. Remember, your body is a faithful servant and it will do as you command it to. Just speak to it. And like I say, If you remember the person who cannot speak, the mute person, they can't speak. They may not be able to speak out of their mouths, but they are speaking within their minds. Oh, yes, they most certainly are. And we all do. We speak to ourselves inwardly before we even open our mouths. Yes? So that's why we practice doing that. Trust yourself here, because that attitude is very important. That attitude is where you throw seeds out of your basket into the field of your mind, which you will then have to reap. So if you choose the attitude, you are now deciding which harvest you want to reap. It's the same as when you garden. You don't go out there and say, well, whatever grows. No, you choose the harvest based upon the seeds that you have planted in the garden. Well, your thoughts and your mental attitude are the seeds. And you're guaranteed a harvest. You can't plant seeds and don't get a harvest. You're always going to get a harvest. Trust that. As long as the earth remains, there shall be what now? Seed time and harvest. Oh, yes. So as long as we're here, we're planting. But you notice, we just select the seed we want to plant. So select your attitude. This is the beauty of what we've been given. So, as I was talking to a good friend, yes, I do. Listen, I was talking to a friend, and she said, I can catch these moods now when I'm slipping. You know. Now here's the key. As long as you catch it and correct it, you're ahead of the game. Why is that? Because then you're being deliberate. It is always best to live a deliberate life than to live an unwitting life. This is the difference between sovereigns and servants, dare I say, sometimes. The servant just does what you tell it. But the sovereign rules by decree, and it says this is what we are doing. They are deliberate. And we are sovereign, so you may as well practice being deliberate. And to be deliberate means what? It means you are choosing your attitude. Remember last night from the lecture where she would always be put down by her boss? But you know what we do instead? We cry in the corner and we feel bad because we've been insulted. Then you are encouraged to remember the person who is spewing the rhetoric and the nonsense is in a state. If you can remember that what's coming out of their mouths is within them, and it is how they are, it has no bearing on you. They are planting seeds from within. So if you feel insulted and you take it to heart, one, you've allowed yourself to be mentally impregnated. Why? Two, because you have forgotten that they are in a state. And when you are in a state, you can only act according to the state. So if you say to yourself, oh my God, they're such a jerk. They're in jerk state. See, chicken is not the only thing that can be jerk, right? Attitudes can be jerk too. So if you know that they're in a state, they have no power over you. But if you forget that they're in a state, you will take on any kind of an offense. So that's why you check your attitude. Because when you check your own attitude, you are not easily pulled into another state unwittingly. Because remember the analogy that Neville used last night. He said, a state is like a city. When you leave the city doesn't disappear into oblivion. It is there for somebody else to visit. So too is a state. So too is a mental attitude or a mental mood. They are all there, and we either fall into them because we're not paying attention, or we deliberately step into it. The moment you say, I got time today, you have deliberately chosen a state. And normally when we roll up our sleeves and we say, I've got time today, we already know what that state entails. So then we already know what harvest we have to reap. You see, we're so busy sometimes saying, Lord, give me a sign that I know I'm on the right path. Hello. The moment you select your attitude, your mood, your seeds, you will see the what? Evidence or signs of what you've chosen. You don't get a sign because God's trying to be merciful to you to tell you you're on the right track. No. You get the evidence of what is contained within you, as within, so without. That's your sign. And you'll notice the sign doesn't happen before you do something. The sign only happens after you have made your choice. Why does it happen after? It happens afterwards because you have to make a selection. How else will you know the selection that you've made if you don't see the evidence of it? You have to make the selection first. But you see, sometimes we can be a little bit afraid. But what if I'm wrong? Show me a sign so I know that I'm right. You won't get a sign to tell you you're right, but you will see the evidence of the choice you have made. Right? This is like saying, show me that the corn is growing, but you didn't plant corn yet. Come on. You see what we're doing? We're looking for security. Don't look for security. Select security. Select your security. What do you want to be secure? Meaning you're sure of what? Here's the true form of security. When you know what you're sure of your choice that you've made. And security. But you see, we want to look for security in things. If I have this, I'll be secure. No, sweetie. If you know that you can create, or better yet, if you know that you can move into a state that you have selected and breathe life into it, that is your security. Why? You know what security means? Something is unwavering. It is sure. It is, lack of a better word, it's secure. It's not gonna, that's why an anchor is secure. When you drop anchor, it buries itself. And it's heavy. It's like growing up, we used to fly kites. We used to make kites at Easter and fly them. And you'd want to tether your kite to something. You don't tether your kite to something that can be easily uprooted. Why not? Because if that thing is uprooted, your kite is gone. So security is what you have anchored yourself to. So what did you anchor yourself to? Did you anchor yourself to the knowledge that, hey, wait a minute, I can move from one state, from one mental state to another, as Neville says, in the twinkling of an eye. And how do you move from one state to another? By way of, what would it be like if? And you entertain the feeling, because it will have a visceral feeling. Visceral means you feel it in your body. That's why he tells you, see the attitude that you walk with? If I say to you, listen, I don't know where some people go in the world, but I know um, if somebody uh, calls out to you and say, hey, beautiful, and you don't answer, right? You know, we've all experienced this at some point. Hey, beautiful, can I have your number? And you don't answer. Well, you ugly anyway. And you could turn around and cuss them out. You see, it made you feel something. It made you feel something, so you had to open your mouth. That is how we live. The thing happens and we feel it. So that's why, if you can remember cause and effect, every cause has its effect, but every effect has its cause, which means if you can bring up a feeling, you will bring about an experience. Because if you have an experience, you will bring about a feeling. So you see, reversibility. Look at the graciousness of the law here. The graciousness of the law is telling you, by way of causation, you are never stuck in any undesirable state. Believe you me, as my grandmother would say. So long as you can feel where you want to be. Remember the woman with the issue of blood in the marketplace? She fell to her knees and did what? Remember, all of those men were wearing the same outfit. It's the culture, right? The sandals and the length, the ankle length and robe, you guess you could say. How are you supposed to know who's who when you can't see their face? But she said something. She chose her attitude. What was her attitude? Her attitude was, if I can touch it, I am good. I know I'm healed if I can touch it. If I can feel it, I know I've done it. That was her attitude. And so, when she fell to her knees and she reached out and she touched it. How did she know which one she touched? Because she felt something enter her body. She was moved by a feeling. Ah, but remember, Jesus was also moved by a feeling. Remember, he's in a crowded marketplace and he's talking about, somebody touch me. The disciples gave him the side eye. Really, Jesus? What you mean somebody touch you? Look around you. Everybody's touching you. Everybody's touching you, Jesus. And Jesus was like, nah, I know everybody's touching me, but somebody touched me because I felt something leave me. I felt virtue leave me. So what left him entered her. Cause and effect. If I can touch it, if I can feel this emotion, and I know people say, well, Neville's not talking about an emotion. Yes and no. You see, when you know something, you feel a particular way about it in your body. It has a response, cause and effect, correspondence, as within, so without. The thing that you know to be true within yourself, your body responds to confirm it. So that's why he tells you all the time, if you can catch the feeling, if you can catch the mood, if you can catch the attitude or the state, then once you feel it, you know what you've done and you know the harvest. So that's why it is always in your and my best interest to check our attitudes. Because if you listen, if you take a moment to check your attitude before you plant seeds, you can always, when you put your hand in the bag, you say, oh, no, wrong seeds. And you'll select another batch of seeds to plant. Why? Because of the way it feels. And the way it feels will tell you the harvest. You see, that's because there's no surprises. But if you plant those seeds willy-nilly, And then, as Neville says, man has a short memory. We go out into the world and all of a sudden you're like, oh, how'd that get there? You forgot you put it there. So you see, that is the grace and that is the mercy of the law. It tells you, check your attitude. Check it. And how do you check it? By choosing it. Once you choose the attitude, your job is done. Why? Because the attitude selected is the behavior presented. The attitude selected is the behavior presented. As within, so without. This is why you choose your harvest first. What? But you just said if I don't plant, I can't have a harvest. Oh, choose the harvest, because that'll tell you what seeds to plant. Remember, if you don't know what you want to be or do, you will always know what it is you want to feel like. If you want to get up every morning and cuss everybody and their dog out, sure. Listen, you can choose that attitude, but you better know what kind of harvest that will be. So is that the harvest you want? Or do you want peace in your life? You want peace. Well, then when you choose peace, you see how peace feels? You know how peacefulness feels. Early Sunday morning and the house is so quiet. You can't hear the traffic. You can't hear anything. Just the stillness is all you can feel in the house. Oh, yes. And your mind is at ease. And perhaps you've got your timer set where your coffee starts to brew. And you inhale nice and deep and you can smell your coffee. Oh, you know peacefulness, don't you? You know peacefulness. Until the cat jumps on your bed and goes, I'm ready. Or until your boy crows. Then you know it's time. But you see, we know what peacefulness feels like. So if you allow yourself to feel the peacefulness, right? Well, then you will do the behavior that brings about the matching sensation of peace. This is what it is that is so beautiful about the law. You listen to how free you are. Not only are you free to choose the harvest, but you are free when you recognize you can't be held captive by any mood or any state. See? See what you've been given? So don't take it for granted anymore. Start to use it. Neville even went so far as to say, listen, it is better to misuse it than not use it. Because at least when you misuse it, you learn. You'll learn. But he doesn't recommend misuse. He just wants you to know how important it is for you to use it. How do you use the law? By practicing choosing your mental attitude that you want to experience throughout the day. Because when you choose your mental attitude, you will begin to entertain those things that match it. That's what you'll do. So you see your freedom? Now, can you feel freedom? You'll recognize if you can feel your freedom, you can be free anywhere. If you can feel your freedom, you can be free anywhere. Listen, Harriet Tubman did it. She knew she was free. She says, give me liberty or give me death. But she knew she was free. She knew nobody came along and said, you should be free. She knew. When she used to see her reflection in the water of the horse trough, she knew she was free. And because she knew she was free, every opportunity presented itself so that she could be physically free. Why do you think a bounty was put on her head and she was never caught? Because whom the sun sets free is free indeed. She couldn't just be free on the inside and not be free on the outside. But she lived a life of what? She chose mental freedom. And because she chose mental freedom, she had to be physically free. Listen to us as people. Let's see if we can learn from her for a minute. Some people say, well, she didn't really exist. So too did Jesus. So what's your point? Let's move on. She chose mental freedom. And every morning that she got up, she knew she was a slave. She could see it. When her master threw that little iron thing at her and hit her in the head, and knocked her out cold for hours, she knew she was a slave. She knew. When she had to go out there and do all that backbreaking labor, she knew she was a slave. But what did she do? She penetrated the facts. How? By seeing in her mind's eye. If you heard her describe it, she said, I saw the fields and people with outstretched arms welcoming me into those fields. Freedom. She felt her freedom. She knew herself to be free in spite of what she got up and saw every morning. And here we are in the world talking about, oh my God, the 3Ds got me all beat down. I can't even, it's so contradictory. It's not what I want and I still keep seeing it. When is it going to change? I'm not trying to tell you that Harriet perhaps didn't ask, when is it going to change? But what I am saying to you is she did not relinquish her feeling and knowledge of freedom. She persisted. She experienced in imagination what she would experience in reality if she were free, to such a point that she had to become physically free. So what do you think she entertained most of the day? Thoughts of freedom. But not just thinking of her freedom. She knew she was free. She was thinking from her freedom. Here's the thing. She had a public speaking circuit. How in the heck can you have a bounty and you speaking publicly, you going from town to town and you're collecting money from people? What? How can there possibly be a bounty? But there was. So you got people giving her money. They know that she has escaped. And they know that her owners are looking for her. But because she was mentally free, everybody had to play their part in her freedom. So today, are you faithful to your freedom? Or are you allowing the exterior, which is but a mere shadow, to tell you that you aren't? You can't let the outside tell you what you are. It is the inside that determines what you see on the outside. So if you can remember your attitude and to change your attitude, well then, you too will walk in your freedom and you won't say, yeah, but the world says. Remember the disciples. And Jesus asked them, who do they say that I am? Oh, well, they say you're John the Baptist. They say you're Elijah. They say you're a prophet. Come back. And Jesus says, well, that's all fine and good, but who do You say that I am. So the rest of the world can say what they think you should be. But who do you say? What is your attitude? That's the only one that matters. How could you say such a thing? You're the only one that matters. Your attitude is the only thing that matters, because your attitude is what you are going to behave like. So tell me that has something to do with George. You don't like George? It's okay. Check yourself and you'll see why you don't like George. But that might be too early to hear in the morning. It's you are the one casting the reflection out into the world. How? Because of your mental attitude, your mental state, your mental mood. So pull a Harriet today. And in spite of what it might look like out there, well, that thing might not be possible. I don't know how I can do it. Pfft. What is your job? Your job is to select the state. Why? Because then you are only ever going to act according to what you've selected. So do you have to figure it out? No. You just got to select the state. And you'll act according to that state. I learned that at a young age. Behave the way you want to be treated is what Granddaddy would say. Behave the way you want to be treated. So select your attitude then. And that's the determining factor for how you're going to be treated in the world. So you see, the power of choice solely rests in your bosom. Oh, you know I love that word. It just solely rests there with you. It's not a burden. Hello. It's not a chore. It's your freedom. It is your power. It is your peace. It is your anchor. It is your savior. Think about that. Compare and contrast, if you will. The man or woman who does not know that they are master of their life. Because they don't know their master, they spend their lives living as slaves. Well, if you live as a slave, you must act as a slave. It's the only way. As within, so without. As above, so below. So if you choose your attitude, you are now being master. You're meant to master self. You're meant to lord over self. One self, many faces. So today, my beautiful friends, go through the day knowing your power. Go through the day and walk in the freedom of what? Wait a minute. I don't like how this feels. How do I want to feel instead? And the moment you show yourself how you want to feel, you will bring about the cause that matches your feeling. And this is why Neville says, choose the lovely things. Because we all know we don't want to feel bad. We all know this. So then why entertain, oh my God, what if that happened? What if I lost this? What if I lost that? Who's going to save me? Oh, you see? But what if you said, what would it be like if I had this? How would I behave? What would my attitude be? How would I drink my coffee in the morning? How would I walk my dog? With this new attitude? How would I be with this new attitude? Oh, and when you start doing that and you begin to entertain, which means plant the seeds of what it is you're feeling, you'll notice you're not walking around looking at your watch. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? There's nowhere to get to because you're already there. The moment you've made the choice, you're there. Listen, the moment you've made the choice, you're there. Because that choice will make you feel a particular way. So however it makes you feel, that's right where you're at. So if it makes you feel good, then you know you're in the right state that at least you want to be in. But if you choose and it makes you wah wah wah, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. That's not where I want to be. So this morning, test it for yourself. Let us take a brief moment to welcome everyone into the space, shall we? Twitter, who's here? Beloved Love Troll and Liz Sigel. You guys are both here this morning. It is glorious to see you as always. Truly it is. Who's here on YouTube and Facebook? Hello, Jeff. Oh, I see you, Delight. I see you. A not. Hello. LC. Elsie's like, you got a chicken? She's like, you got chickens? Just one. A rooster. I do. Just one. And for the others who have not made themselves known on YouTube and Facebook, I see you. Fanbase, who's in the house? Griff is here. Dua is here. Happy is in the house. Tannen is here. Welcome, darling. Welcome. Fawn is here. I am is in the house. Hey. Zeesty, Joaquin, KZ, Oracle Treehouse, Shea Butter Baby is in the house. So today, as you go through this day, check your attitude by selecting what you want that attitude to be. That's how you do it. And when you select what that attitude is, there'll be a feeling attached to it in your body. There's a feeling attached. Oh, indeed. And so once you feel it, you're there. Well, if you didn't feel it, how could you have been there? You're there. Okay? The feeling confirms for you. Remember, the woman in the crowded marketplace. If I could touch it, I know I'd be healed. So, if you can feel it, you know you got it. Right? Perhaps test that out. Test that out. You know what? If I could feel whatever that thing is you want to feel, I know it's mine. If I could feel the congratulations, if I could feel the celebration, if I could feel it, I know it's mine. And what do? Drop to your all fours, because you are the woman in the marketplace. And everybody from the feet, they all look the same. But you know, only one of these things feels the way you want. So you reach out and touch me, right? You reach out. And when you feel the feeling, as that great Calypso song will tell you, a feeling, right? When you feel the feeling, because you said you know what you want to feel like. So when you know it, when you feel what you said you wanted to feel, you want to feel excited? Feel excited. Well, then whatever that thing is you feel excited about, you're done. It's there. Based upon that story and what it's telling us, if I can touch the hem of his garment, I know I'll be healed. Bold statement. But you notice she didn't stop. It didn't tell you, all it says is she touched him and he felt virtue leave him. But they didn't tell you, because she's in a marketplace that's crowded, right? So your mind is full of thoughts, full of feelings. Crowded marketplace of the mind. But only one thing feels the way you want to feel. So that means you're not just going to feel one. You're like, oh, yeah, that kind of sort of, no. Well, this will kind of sort of feel, no. And you touch it and you touch it and you touch it till it feels, till you catch it. So you see what you're practicing on a daily basis? A double A. Do you see what you're practicing now on a daily basis? Because the moment you catch that mood, you feel it, you'll know. The moment you catch it, you'll know that it's done. It's when you don't feel it that you're like, oh, did I do it? Listen, when you feel it, there's no denying that you felt it. Your body says, oh, that's a good feeling. So practice. Now here's the nuance. Your nuance is your personality. If you see, and that's what makes you feel. If you hear, and that's what makes you feel. If you smell, and that's what makes you feel. If you touch, and that's what makes you feel. Well then, that's your personality. Use your personality. That's the nuance. The law is not nuanced. It is firm in what it says it is. But your application of the law based on your personality is what is nuanced. I will always speak of Brie because she's she's so beautiful. She really is. She's beautiful in form and face. And is she ever uber talented? I marvel at how she just looks at something and she says, She just looks at it and then bam, she's got this idea. I told you the one where she's got curtains just hanging at the window. And she walks by and she looks at the curtain and she sees a dress. I'm like, okay, wait, what? How do you possibly see a dress and there's just drapes just hanging? But that's her personality. Just like the chef can just see a sprinkle of saffron and he can see what they're going to make. Saffron is the most beautiful. Yeah, good morning again. Saffron is a beautiful spice or a herb, depending on your culture. Beautiful, vibrant color. Right? So as a chef, when you see the saffron, you're like, oh, and a dish comes to mind. So you see, a chef is moved by different things. A chef is moved by the smell, the taste, the feeling of the fruit or the vegetable. The seamstress or tailor is moved by the feel of the fabric or the design or the cut of the fabric. The poet is moved by the words he hears as he walks through the marketplace. So is a lyricist. They're a poet anyway. The singer, the dancer. Well, the dancer is moved by the rhythm they hear as they go anywhere. Nuance. Your personality is the nuance as to how you apply the law. So that means, who are you? Who do you say that you are? And that's what will help you when you feel. If I can just feel it, I know it is done. So this morning, as you hear the bowl and bird song, what feeling can you feel this morning? Viscerally in your body. Because remember, in order to feel the feeling, you have to think of something, don't you? Remember, it starts within. It starts always within. So what feeling, as you hear the bull this morning, listen, if you are driving, mind your business and just keep driving. But if you're in a safe place and you have a moment and you want to see what you can feel, right? Think about this for a moment and you'll understand what I'm saying. If you think and you go through your memory and you pull up a failure, what does your body feel like? Uh-huh. You see what that feels like? Yeah. When you reminisce about your failure. Ah, see? You can feel it, can't you? All right. What if now you could feel success? If you can feel success, you will be successful. So you see, success is not determined by who you know or how much money you got in the bank. Success is determined, can you feel it? Because if you can feel it, you will bring about the situation to confirm your success. Thereby, you don't have to lift a finger to make it. So all you have to do is plant the seeds. Is that not what you do in the garden? Don't you just plant the seeds and water them and fertilize them and pluck the weeds? And then the harvest comes in? Did you make it grow? No. All you have to do is plant them and nurture them. How do you nurture the thoughts? By not contradicting. You nurture your thoughts by not contradicting them. Ah, but I don't know if that's possible. That seems so far-fetched. That's contradicting what you say you are. Right? You see, certain plants like certain types of fertilizer. Roses need a special kind. Tomatoes need a special kind. So your thought has a certain kind of attitude that it likes. Confirmation, correspondence, not contradiction. So then you feel it, nurture it. And you nurture it by having all of those best case scenarios that you can possibly see. Because when you see those best case scenarios, I know he's getting louder, don't worry. There's a millisecond of a decibel he's raised in there. But when you feel it, and you know, and you play through your best case scenarios, what are you doing? You're continually feeling it and reinforcing what you're feeling. All right, let me get the bowl. Let me get the bowl. So, what are you going to feel this morning? Well, when you hear bull and bird song, feel it. Reach for it. Reach for the hem of that garment. Because you know if you feel it, you know if you touch it, you know you're healed. Let's get it. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Love Troll, thank you for being here today. I'll see you tonight, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you're still awake, for the lecture. Which one? Sound investments. That's the lecture tonight. Sound investments. So, thank you. Much love to you. Twitter is closed. I got the water lined up. YouTube, Facebook, double A, Jeff, Delight, Delight, A not, LC. And for all the others who've not made themselves known in the chat, I see you. Remember, boot camp is on Saturday, and if you haven't signed up yet, trust me, you want to be there. And also, you can pre-order your Hermetic Oracle cards. That's all I want to tell you for announcements, because that's all there is. Much love, YouTube and Facebook.